What's up, guys? This is Mark coming at you again with We the People Oklahoma. And again, I got Stacy. She's hanging out with me.
Hey, guys.
All right, cool. Stacy, let's just jump into it. We're going to talk about the 2014 report that Tulsa Police Department released on their website.
Yes,
Okay,
they finally
so
put out the 2014
Right.
report. You guys don't know. I've been waiting for this report since what, January?
Yeah, Stacy's been waiting on this report.
I check it
Okay.
like once a week. It's
Right.
it's an obsession.
So let me give you guys this background story. The report, the Internal Affairs report, is a report where they document basically all that happened, the use of force in their departments and
Citizen complaints,
citizen
that sort
complaints, stuff of that nature. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but the Tulsa Police Department is divided up into 3 divisions. There's Gilcrease that covers all of North
and
some
downtown.
Some
A
of
little bit of
downtown. And
yeah.
do they cover some west?
They go a little bit into Midtown,
Okay.
but not too far.
Not too far.
Yeah.
Okay. There's Mingo Valley.
which is all east.
It's all east.
Yeah.
And then there's Riverside that
Which
covers
covers-
all south.
all south and west. Yeah.
All south and west. Okay. So that's how they divided it up. And every year they put the report out, and it normally takes decades for this report to come out. I mean,
That's
this
what it
is
feels
midway
like.
this is September 2015.
Yeah.
And we're just now getting a report for 2014.
Right.
Okay. So Stacy, since this report has come out, last year report, 2013 report, actually brought an eye opener. You know, we
it was
saw-
ridiculous.
Right. We saw the excessive force claim. No, I'm sorry. The use of force claims higher in the Gilcrease division than we saw in the other divisions, right?
This is the thing.
Okay.
Because I've gone back over the numbers.
Okay, go ahead.
And for the last 5 years, Gilcrease is consistently higher than, and when I say higher, I don't just mean they have more.
Okay.
They are consistently almost double the other two combined.
Wow.
So, for example, 2010, there were 93 use of force in Riverside, 148 in Gilcrease.
Wow.
80 in 2011, 89
Wow.
in Riverside, 172 in Gilcrease.
Wow.
And 2013, which is the original one that you and I discussed
Right. I
back
remember that.
over the winter, their numbers were there was 256 in Gilcrease alone. Total for that was 442 for that year. So 256 incidences happened out north only out of that 442. And this is the problem that I'm having with these numbers is when you look population-wise, if you're from Tulsa, you know,
Okay.
North Tulsa is not populated the way that East and South and West Tulsa is populated.
Right. Right.
Their houses aren't as close together.
Right.
There aren't the neighborhoods the way that there are further south.
Right.
And
And there are a lot
so-
of houses in the north.
Well, there are a lot of houses in the north, not apartment complexes.
Right. Absolutely.
So you have this insane population density south of this district or
Right.
this division.
Right.
But this division is primarily makes up the numbers for the different types of force. Now, if you know Tulsa, you also know that Gilcrease division is North Tulsa, which means that's primarily African American, low income, Hispanic, minority community.
And I'm glad you're mentioning that because I had a chance to speak with Chief Jordan about this, and he stated that a lot of those numbers are due to low social economic problems. What's your take on that?
So they're beating up people because they're poor? Is that what he just said?
His response was those areas are lower socioeconomic areas,
Okay.
which means that it's going to develop a higher level of types of use of force.
I don't see how he's making the connections. I can see because they're lower income communities, statistically we see that there's more crime there. But to me, what the numbers say is that because it's a lower income area, they have more interactions with police because they can't afford representation, basically. I mean,
This is what I say to this argument. And I'm going to say it very nice, okay? When you have 3 basic necessities, okay? And if you live in Tulsa, you understand that a lot of the lower socioeconomic areas, you are going to have a lot of police use of force incidences.
You're going to have a lot of police, period. But the interaction then leads to increased use of force.
Absolutely. So
just because you
part
have
of what he
more
said,
frequent.
I agree to a degree, but they're not trying to solve that problem.
Right.
Okay. When you don't have 3 basic needs, food, shelter, and security.
Yes.
You don't care about anything else.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You don't care.
If it doesn't matter if you can afford an attorney
It doesn't matter.
because you can't even afford groceries.
If you can't afford to feed your family, you don't care about a police on your back. And if you can't afford to pay for a warrant, you can't afford to pay speeding tickets because you don't have food on the table, okay? So to me, if we really want to deal with this use of force claims, I believe that we need to start dealing with the social economic areas that are in these particular areas and finding out how the city will be able to combat the disparities that they have within these areas.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the prime example, the location that we're talking about. They've been fighting for a grocery store for how long?
Absolutely. And
I mean,
they
it's
had
been
the Walmart.
a decade?
The Walmart on Avro
The one that
Memorial.
was sort of closed.
Yeah, it was sort of closed, but I understand, guys, it's reopening. I don't know if you guys caught that last week.
Yeah.
But when you're taking their adequate amount of food away, and I'm not making excuses, guys, because people who live on the South, they always say these excuses.
But you have to think, if you live in South Tulsa, let's look at Brookside. Brookside is a perfect shining example of this. There is a Reese's, a Whole Foods,
absolutely,
a Walmart, and now a Trader Joe's is going in.
That's your money.
4 grocery stores.
Well, we know that
within
that's the money
a mile
area.
radius.
Brookside is the money area.
I get
of
that
Tulsa.
Brookside is the money area, but you can't say, well, they just need to, find a way to get to the grocery store when we're talking about walking multiple miles.
Absolutely.
But yet South Tulsa has grocery stores about every mile.
Every mile. I mean, within a subdivision,
a mile,
they
mile
will
and a
build.
half, 2 miles.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're steadily building. Out there. What is the place? Southern Hills. What is that? The Southern Hills.
Tulsa Hills.
Tulsa Hills.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Tulsa Hills. They're steadily building out there. But and I'm not going to get into this argument. North Tulsa is depleted and South Tulsa. I'm not going to get into that part.
It is.
But what I am going to
let's
say
be honest.
is that if we are talking about one Tulsa, we have to look at all the disparities that are happening in all areas.
Yes. And we have to address them and not just, if they would just go get a job, they would have a grocery store next to them.
Right. We hear that all the time. Right. So let's get back to this report. Let's get back to this report. I'm sorry.
Okay, we did take a little detour.
So this report basically outlines the use of force that is higher in the Gilcrease Division. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago, guys, Commander Yates, which is the division, he came out and he was saying how North Tulsa has voted to be the safest area. In that particular area?
That is right. Statistically, they have less crime than the other.
Less crime.
Other areas.
We can cheer for that, but you also have higher number of use of force claims from your citizens.
Right. And so that leads me to believe that part of the reason that they have less crime out there is because people are trying to have less interaction with police because they know if they do, they're at greater risk of being injured.
And we have a lot of over-policing.
Or killed even.
That's in that area. What is your thoughts on community policing?
We don't do it here. I will say that. I can't tell you how many officers that I've seen just rolling through and they're on their computers or on their cell phones, even though they're not supposed to be.
Right.
Just a reminder. But when you think of community policing, there was an interview, and I'm trying to remember the officer's name, but he was an officer out of Baltimore.
Okay.
That they basically followed for a day. He actually was terminated because he was a whistleblower.
Oh.
And so I'm gonna have to find the link and we'll post it because the video was amazing. And this guy is the authority that we need to be listening to instead of the one that said shoot first, ask questions later.
Right, because when you have people who live in the community, they know the community.
Exactly.
But I don't know the numbers, guys. How many police officers in the Gilcrease area actually live in North
Gilcrease?
Tulsa?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But what we have seen statistically speaking is that the officers don't normally live in the area that they police.
Exactly.
So they don't really know that area, or they know the people.
Yeah, other than to drive through it and then get involved in situations, you know, like we had last week, the standoff out east.
Right.
But back to this officer in Baltimore, he was saying one of the things that he would like to have seen happen was for the officers to have the authority to submit a report to, let's say, the Works Department of City Hall. So if you see a busted window, you submit a report to the Public Works, and you know that a crew is going to come out and take care of that window. And that, I think, it gets back to that, NYPD is cited all the time for their broken windows policing, which to them means stop and frisk and beat up everybody on the street and choke people out for selling single cigarettes.
Absolutely.
But
Eric Gardner, by the way.
Eric Gardner. But if you truly want to do community policing, then it starts with making the communities livable again. Right. And I mean, if you go out, to go back to Gilcrease, if you go out north, there are some communities that look like a bomb went off. I mean, it's it's frightening.
And then when you don't, go ahead.
Well, and then we have this group that went out this weekend to do the cleanup, and that's great, and they should be commended for their efforts. Right. But there also needs to be work on the part of the city to respond to those needs also. Right,
as well as the city is responding to other needs within the city in itself, different areas too. So, yeah, I mean, I think these numbers are outrageous. I'm sure Commander Yates will object to some of those numbers, but guys,
they are better this year. I will say that they have decreased, not a whole lot
for 2014.
For 2014, they have decreased, and we of course will be anxiously awaiting next summer's report.
Absolutely. But I encourage you guys to go download. We'll put the link for the 2014 Internal Affairs report. And also, guys, we always leave you with some information. How can you help? If you have an incident, you do need to document that.
Absolutely.
You do need to go to Internal Affairs and fill out a report.
Well, in Tulsa Police make it very easy to do that. Tulsa County makes it a little more difficult, of course. But Tulsa Police has the link on their website that you can fill out from. If you use a smartphone, you can fill it out from there. You can fill it out at the library. I mean, if you don't have access to a computer in your home, you can still fill out the form online. And that is fantastic.
And that is good. And that's one of the things that
it's very user friendly. I actually filled out a report last week for an incident. Yeah.
And that's something that Chief Jordan did say. He said that we don't know the problem unless a report has been documented.
Exactly. And so you kind of have to take it upon yourself to say, I'm going to be the change that I want to see in my community.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we're going to leave you with, you guys, is that you are the change. There's so many people who I see and we hear, they just complain and they say the police did this, the police did that. But until you speak out, until you make the report.
Absolutely.
People like myself, Stacy, or any other activists cannot really help unless you guys do your part first.
Exactly. Well, because these departments run on paperwork.
That's all they do.
They thrive on paperwork. They don't.
Documentation beats conversation.
Exactly. Precisely. And so if there's no documentation, I mean, we get bombarded daily.
All the time.
With requests for help, and it's a lot of the situations we're just not able to because at the time that they happen, there's no documentation, there's no supporting evidence. It's just hearsay, and so if
and it may be legitimate, but we don't have anything.
But there's nothing to go on. Whereas if a situation happens, and like a situation with one of our Shalon last week, she was sitting in the pickup line at Hawthorne Elementary waiting for her kids to get out of school. And 10 TPD cars come speeding by the school through a school zone, mind you. School is letting out. 25 miles an hour school zone in Tulsa, I think, is what the 20 or 25.
Of something?
They were on the way to a burglary call, I believe. 10 cars speeding through a school zone. And as far as I know, she filled out a report. I filled out a report.
She did.
We haven't heard
anything.
Good
job, Shalon.
You know.
Good job.
But letting those incidences, letting those departments know that we're watching these things,
right,
puts them on better behavior.
Absolutely. And guys, use your phones. You know,
Absolutely.
take pictures, take videos.
You take selfies every day.
Right.
Take a picture of a cop every day.
That's right. All right, guys. That's crazy.
Probably don't do that.
All right, we're going to
Not
leave
the
you guys
same
with
cop, at
that. Again, we got T-shirts. And if you have any questions, please hit us up.